Welcome back, everyone. We'll be taking your calls today. The phone lines are open, so pick up that phone and get in line. The doctor's waiting for you. Well, as he said in the news segment, we are going to be talking about alpha-lipoic acid today. I find this really interesting. Previously, we always thought about ALA as being only pertaining to the diabetic. Now we know that's not true. It has such a widespread effect, it can help all of us. In fact, Richard, let's start the show by describing ALA, and let's answer the question, is it a vitamin? Is it a nutrient? Do we really have to have it or not?
Yes, we do have to have it in our bodies. Normally we make it, but with advancing age and disease, many of us do not make enough. In fact, if you don't have any in your body, you will quickly die. Within minutes, you will die.
Really?
Yes, because it's involved in aerobic metabolism, and that, breathing air and then burning glucose, that's how we survive. So if that process is interrupted, it'd be like suffocating yourself. So it is essential for life. Alpha-lipoic acid, folks, as we go through this, and as I studied for this to prepare, I was left utterly awe-inspired by the effect of this compound. And I think if you investigate it on your own, you would be equally awe-inspired. This stuff has universal application for the ills of humanity. So pay close attention. You might learn something today, and you might be able to help yourself and others with this new knowledge. Alpha-lipoic acid goes by other names. Lipoic acid is very common. Leave off the alpha. It's also known as thioctic acid, dithiooctanoic acid. We'll just call it lipoic acid or alpha-lipoic acid today. It is an organosulfur compound, a source of sulfur, all right? And that sulfur content is what gives it its beautiful sunshine yellow color. It's really a pretty little color. With lipoic acid, there is a right and left hand, but only the right hand type molecule. See, my hands are the same, right? They're mirror images, but they're not really quite the same, are they? And when it comes to the molecule of alpha-lipoic acid, there are two types, but our bodies only accept the right hand. Only the right-handed molecule will go in that glove, so to speak. That's the only one that works. The left hand is not toxic to us, but it doesn't do what alpha-lipoic acid does. This is what we call a chiral molecule in chemistry, and chier is the Greek for hand. So that makes sense, doesn't it? And I think of it as gloves, hand in the glove, and in the right hand fits into the enzyme glove in our bodies. So the right-handed molecule is what works. It was once thought to be a vitamin, but then they discovered that we can make it on our own, but with age, with health conditions, poor nutrition, this, that, and the other, those levels can drop dramatically. And so that's what we call a conditionally essential nutrient now. Just like CoQ10, same thing with coenzyme Q10. Without alpha-lipoic acid in your body, none of it, you would die very quickly, very quickly.
How does alpha-lipoic acid work in our body?
That's the essence of it all. First, it is part of 4 different enzyme complexes in the mitochondria that generate ATP from glucose. It is involved in this aerobic metabolism. 4 different enzyme complexes. Now, we know coenzyme Q10 is involved in one major one in that mitochondria. This one's, lipoic is in 4, so it's critically important. It increases ATP production, all right? ATP is your energy currency exchange in your body. ATP is what makes everything happen. And lipoic acid increases the production of ATP. It also has been shown to increase cardiac output and blood flow in general without raising blood pressure. This makes it applicable to coronary artery disease, cardiovascular disease in general, peripheral artery disease, claudication, venous insufficiency. Anything that increases that blood flow without increasing blood pressure is a very good thing. Oxygenation is what we want to have happen. And so many of the symptoms of disease are related to ischemia, lack of oxygen, and even infarctions, where the tissues have been killed, a heart attack. Well, we want to improve oxygenation and blood flow. Alpha-lipoic acid does that, and it's quite remarkable. It helps to recharge vitamin E, vitamin C, CoQ10, and glutathione. This makes lipoic acid a powerful antioxidant.
So, Richard, how can it recharge something else?
Due to this unique disulfide bond There's two sulfur atoms in this molecule. It can break apart and accept hydrogens and let them go, protons and electrons, okay? It comes and goes like this. It's very versatile. And the fact that it is soluble in fat and water allows it to go into nerve tissue, into the brain, cross the blood-brain barrier, okay? And so it's involved in the recharging of these antioxidants and acts as an antioxidant in and of itself.
So if you take CoQ10 as a supplement, which CoQ10 is fantastic and it is not cheap,
No.
so if we take our CoQ10, adding the alpha lipoic acid is going to make that CoQ10 work, and I'm going to get every drop, every bit's going to work
makes
better.
it more efficient.
More efficient to my
Exactly
body.
right. That's exactly right.
Good to know.
Another interesting aspect of lipoic acid is it is quickly distributed throughout all body tissues. So it gets into organs that are stressed, like the heart, let's say, or the brain, any place that's stressed. It gets in there quickly, it goes to all body parts, okay? There is an interesting history behind the discoveries and uses of lipoic acid. It was first proposed in the 1950s by Franz Rosch, MD, was the first doctor to start using this and recognizing that maybe some people are low in this alpha lipoic acid. Let's use it in the clinic and see if it helps people. And with the remarkable results that he got, the news spread quickly. And it's been used throughout Germany and Europe for well over 50, 60 years now. And the most use it's received is for diabetic neuropathy, conditions of the nerves. Diabetics, you know how with time those nerves really start to hurt and ache and a lot of pain. And the alpha lipoic acid gained its early reputation from relieving those symptoms in diabetics, okay? Let's get to the heart of the matter. The physician's desk reference states there are no significant side effects to alpha lipoic acid. It's in you anyway, okay? I suppose if you took a whole bottle at once, you might get queasy, but it goes away. You know, there's no significant side effects. And there is no known drug interactions with any drug, okay? It's already in us. We test these drugs against what's in us. We see no problem with medicines and alpha lipoic acid and no significant side effects. And that's good news. It's nice to have something that you don't need to worry about, right? That is nice to have. It can be administered intravenously or by mouth. Both provide rapid increase of blood and tissue levels. A lot of the research you find on alpha lipoic acid is done by IV use, you know, a controlled environment in the laboratory, on animals, this type of thing. And you have to wonder, well, does the IV equal the PO, you know, taking it by mouth? We know it does. We know it does. So we can't say this for all things. Not everything is absorbed like that. But with alpha lipoic acid and IV study, you can say, well, I can take it by mouth and reproduce that. And that's important to know. Lipoic acid is naturally found in some green leafy vegetables, but it's primarily found in red meats. This means vegans and vegetarians are susceptible to deficiency states, especially with compromised and failing health. Pay attention, vegans, vegetarians, you may need more alpha lipoic acid, okay? When we go to the research literature on alpha lipoic acid, it is mind-boggling. I went to the National Institutes of Health and found 3,400 articles. And while I was going through these articles, 3 new articles were added while I was doing it. So it's being evaluated around the world, in all countries. I was impressive, from Turkey to China to the Philippines to Great Britain to Germany, US, all over the world, people are investigating the uses of alpha lipoic acid. Now, probably the most studied effect of alpha lipoic acid is its use in diabetes. And basically, if you can remember this line, this little sound bite, lipoic acid helps insulin do its job. And what does insulin do? It lowers blood sugar. And that's what we're trying to do for the diabetic. Diabetic production of lipoic acid is compromised due to complications of the disease. It improves measures of glucose control, all the measures of glucose control. That means your fasting glucose will improve when you wake up in the morning. After you eat a meal, your postprandial glucose will improve. Your long-term, your hemoglobin A1C levels will improve. Your cholesterol levels will improve. Your triglyceride measures, levels will improve. These are all the measures of glucose control. They all improve. Not only does it help the diabetic, it helps the pre-diabetic, the metabolic syndrome. It improves the measures of metabolic syndrome, which is glucose, cholesterol, obesity, and blood pressure. All those come down. That would be enough to get my attention. but there is so much more to alpha-lipoic. We'll have that when we return.
Glad that you did the diabetic first.
Yeah.
Because back when we, and we go through the shows and the 6 things that every diabetic should do and
Yeah,
all the
right.
different things, and they're so important, and ALA definitely is critical for the diabetic
Yes.
or the pre-diabetic.
Yes, it is. And the diabetic neuropathy, fully a third of diabetics have painful legs, hands, neuropathy as their first symptom and sign of the disease.
Right,
The
that
first-
was my dad's, wasn't
yes,
it?
exactly right. And
Terrible
every
pain.
time I study lipoic acid, I think of your dad, and if I'd only known about this, we could have helped him sooner, okay? And that's my concern for you. Folks, we're waiting too long to take action. We're waiting till the car's got 300,000 miles on it to change the oil. Well, you've done damage. We can't get that back. So don't wait too long. The pain in the legs, it's a glove or stocking-like pain. It's not like sciatica that's down one nerve. It's the whole foot and toes, and it's like a stocking covering. That's the neuropathy kind of pain. It burns, it tingles. And you go to the doctor, and they say, well, your blood sugar's fine, so it's not diabetes. Wrong. Wrong. You can have diabetes before the blood sugars show. They're not testing blood sugar throughout the day. You'll have times after that malted milk where your blood sugar shoots up, and obviously it's diabetic, but that's not being tested all the time. That's a glucose tolerance test. Anyway, the point remains. You may not know you have diabetes, but you have the pain of the neuropathy. 30% of those diagnosed with diabetes have that pain first. And alpha-lipoic acid provides relief. It is amazing. It's the most studied use of lipoic acid, provides quick reduction of burning, tingling, pain, and numbness. And animal studies suggest with time the nerve conduction parameters, the nerve conduction studies, also improve. What's this mean? Well, getting pain relief is one thing, and that's good. But if we can restore the health of the nerve, that's even better. And it appears lipoic acid does that, see? And animal studies are being conducted now to determine that. Some have suggested it does. Okay? So that's very important to regain nerve function along with reduction of pain and burning. University of Michigan researchers discovered lipoic acid improves pain associated with diabetic peripheral neuropathy, them and many others. This is not 1 or 2 studies, folks. These are many studies now. When we have a preponderance of evidence, we don't need to cite every study. There's 12, 15 studies that show that. Well, we don't need to cite every one anymore. Okay? There's a preponderance of evidence. A multi-centered study of 600 milligram and 1,200 milligram IV alpha-lipoic acid 5 times a week for just 3 weeks showed significant improvement in diabetic neuropathy for some 328 type 2 diabetics. Okay? And we know IV and PO create similar levels in the bloodstream. So you can do that at home on your own with an oral dose. That's powerful. A Chinese study, more than 73%, 3 out of 4 basically, of those suffering systemic neuropathy experienced relief on 1,800 milligrams. See, many of you are taking 300 milligram sustained relief a day, and you're going, I don't know if that's helping me. It's not enough. You have to take more, and it's safe to do that, okay? It's not a very expensive supplement. There's no medicine that does what this does. So bump that dose up. It's okay to do that. Here's one, the diabetic fatty liver, the retinopathy, the kidney disease, the nephropathy, okay? Long history of use in Germany to prevent fatty infiltration of the liver that leads to this non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, or the NASH, okay? It helps to prevent that. It also, I found a study, brand new study, just came in while I was doing the research. Lipoic acid prevents the fibrosis of cirrhosis. A healthy liver, we've all seen liver, beef liver at the meat department, right? It's glistening, it's soft, it's almost jello-like, okay? Cirrhosis has a corn cob appearance, a cobblestone appearance. It's tough, it's hard, it's full of scar tissue that knots it up. Lipoic acid prevents that from happening. See, we need to get on these things quickly, early, at the first sign of dysfunction, not when we're blind, folks. Now, it's going to help even in extreme cases, but I want people to start thinking more holistic first, crisis management second. We can prevent the progression of these diseases in so many if we just started thinking that way. Wouldn't that be wonderful to do that? Multiple studies show improvement of both eye and kidney disease of diabetes, okay? To remember, we've learned in kidney disease of diabetes, there's huge oxidative stress, free radical stress in the kidney of the diabetes. That's what lipoic acid counters. See, that's exactly what you need. Reduces the loss of protein in the urine for the diabetic. That is huge. The albuminuria of diabetes is diminished. It also slows down the cataract formation in the eyes of diabetics. See, it's a profound antioxidant. Now let's do a little cardiovascular disease. You know, if we just had the diabetes and lipoic, I'd be thrilled. But there's more.
You know
Go
what,
ahead.
Richard, before we do the cardio, that was such a profound, I just love that section on diabetes.
Yeah, it's
Let's
pretty amazing.
tell the diabetic what levels they should take. Because
Well-
they're going to get a bottle and it's going to say 1 or 2 or whatever it is
Yes,
on there.
yes.
And I want them to get the amount that's really going to work because there are going to be people calling in today.
Okay. The 300 milligram a day is the minimum. That's the starter baby dose, training wheel dose.
Okay.
That would be for someone who is in really good health. They want to have a powerful antioxidant. Maybe there's diabetes in the family,
Okay.
and they're looking for a maintenance program, prevention. But if you have a diagnosis of diabetes, if you have neuropathy, pain down the legs, this type of thing, minimum dose is 600. I would start at 900 a day, morning, noon, and night. 300 milligrams morning, noon, and night. You'll get a better drug,
Okay.
drug level, supplement level,
Right.
lipoic acid level. Okay?
Wonderful.
So it's a little higher, but this is not a drug, remember. This is not a drug. It's in each and every one of us. Our body recognizes it not as a foreign invader, but part of us, so it accepts it. Okay? If there's too much in your system, it has a perfectly good way of just getting rid of whatever it doesn't need. Okay?
good.
All right. Now, cardiovascular disease. We have evidence now, multiple evidence, that lipoic acid reduces cholesterol while preventing the oxidation of LDL cholesterol. That's the generation of a heart attack. It helps to prevent that phenomena. It increases cardiac output while reducing blood pressure. That is phenomenal. Cardiac output, how much blood is going out to the periphery, but it doesn't do it by increasing the blood pressure. It makes it more efficient. See? Okay? This means that lipoic acid has merit for heart failure, for cardiomyopathy, for coronary artery disease, stent placement, all of these. You came close to the heart attack that got the stent in, you know, all these things. It will help oxygenate your tissues. It lessens the damage of a heart attack or stroke by decreasing reperfusion injury. Now let me explain that, reperfusion injury. If I take a little string, a thread, and tie it around my finger and cinch it tight, what's going to happen to that finger?
Ooh, you're going to cut off your blood supply.
Yeah, it would auto-amputate eventually. It'd take a few days, but eventually it would fall off, right? Well, let's say I put it on there for an hour and a half. Okay? The finger will look strange, but it's not inflamed while the tourniquet is on, right? But as soon as I take that tourniquet off and the blood goes into the finger, boy, the inflammation just goes crazy. It swells because the new blood coming into those damaged, ischemic, low oxygen tension tissues recognizes damage. And the white blood cells release all their cytokines and inflammatory products. This is the reperfusion injury. Now, you may say, well, I'm not tying tourniquets onto my body parts, Doc. What are you talking about? Well, this happens to us all the time, okay? One of the major mechanisms of losing brain power with age are tiny little blood clots that get caught in the tiny arterioles of the brain. When that little clot gets dissolved, the blood gets in there, you have a reperfusion injury. And it causes death of a tiny little section of your brain. Let's say you're bedridden and you're lying in the bed and you develop a pressure necrosis decubiti ulcer, a bed sore. Well, when you get the pressure on there, the damage is occurring. When the patient moves, that's the reperfusion injury. Diabetic foot ulcer, the same thing. The reperfusion injury is at the root of so much of the decay and degeneration associated with disease, and alpha lipoic acid decreases that. That is remarkable. Reperfusion injury, alpha lipoic acid, helps prevent that. We have a break. We'll have more on alpha lipoic.